Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to How to Build, where I'm going through every single champion in the game and putting together a quick reference guide for newer players who need a little bit of guidance with a particular champ, how to build them, where to use them, how to use them, things like that. This is going to be a little bit of a different approach to this episode. In light of the fusion event that's going on right now, I thought it might not be a bad idea for me to get a guide out for Foli. So here's my plan. I'm going to do my normal How to Build on Foli, where I'm just going to talk about him, his base stats, and his kit, and then give some early game beginner advice for him on just how to get started for any of the newer players that are far enough along in the game to be able to complete this fusion. Once I get Foli, which I'm this close to doing, I'm basically one champ away. Once I get him built up, 6-starred, completed, and I'm using him in some places, I'll come back and do another in-depth guide that will include masteries and later game builds and things of that nature. So I thought it would not be a bad idea for there to be this reference for you, just to come in real quickly if you're newer and you're not super familiar with the game. Maybe you've been lucky and you pulled him early and you're just not real sure what to do with him. I've heard a lot of people say that they don't think Foli's that great, and that is wildly incorrect. He's an excellent champ. He's in my top 5 most wanted legendaries. So let's go ahead and do our normal how to build, like I said, and then I'll come back later once I get him and do the more in-depth guide. So we're looking at Foli. He is a legendary in the Dark Elves. He is the current fusion. Base stats, he's over 15,000 HP for an attacker. That is pretty solid. His base attack is 1,476. That is pretty high as well. That's going to be really easy to scale. His base defense is really high too. He's over 1,100 base defense. Speed is 99, and then he has a little bump and crit damage that you don't see often. So base stats are killer. For an attacker, he has some really easy stats in the way of survivability and being able to take a hit that you don't see on a ton of attackers. So excellent base stats. So let's talk about his skills. First skill, attacks one enemy 4 times, has a 20% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense buff for 2 turns. So if you've watched any of my how to builds or any of my other videos, I mention often how much utility there is in any champion that has a first turn defense break. Anybody that has a defense break on their first skill automatically has utility. You can take them into dungeon for that alone. You build a solid team around them, and they come in for that reason alone, just for the defense break. That's how good first turn defense break is, because basically as long as you keep them alive and they're able to land it, they're basically going to keep a defense break on the boss that you're fighting. So first turn defense break is pretty incredible. Quick note too, 4-turn first skill is going to be monstrous in Clan Boss once you get Giant Slayer on them. So again, that's not something we're going into in this video, but it is something to keep in mind for later, that there are not a lot of first turn 4 hitters in the game. Foli is one of them, and it has a defense break on top of it in the same motion. So excellent skill. First turn defense break always has utility, and as you can imagine, he's going to be a Fire Knight Rockstar, right? A first turn 4 hitter, pretty useful there. But honestly, again, anywhere there's a boss, you can bring Foli. He's going to keep that defense break up and contribute a lot. Just in the way of that. So let's talk about his other 2 skills real quick. Second skill, attacks 4 times at random. Each hit has a 35% chance of placing a Leech Debuff for 2 turns. So for those of you who might not know what a Leech Debuff is, because it's not super common, you don't see it a ton, Leech Debuff is when you put a leech on the enemy, and now anybody on your team that hits that enemy is going to leech life from the damage they do. So it's not, I don't think it's quite as strong as a Lifesteal set, for example, but it basically gives your whole team a Lifesteal effect for as long as that defense buff is up, or I'm sorry, for as long as that Leech Debuff is up. So again, 4 times at random, so if there's multiple enemies, somewhere like Spider, this could be hit or miss. But again, somewhere like Fire Knight, where there's 1 enemy, you've got 8 hits between 2 skills on this one guy. So he's going to make Fire Knight much easier for everybody that's able to fuse him. Beyond that, again, you are going to put Giant Slayer on him in your masters when you get there. So again, now we've got 2 4-hitter skills on Giant Slayer. So you can see how his damage could start to ramp up quite a bit in a Clan Boss team. So another really excellent skill. Third skill attacks all enemies. Enemies under 2 or more debuffs that are killed by this attack cannot be revived. So there's not a ton of block revive in this game, and I don't know if anybody feels the same as I do about Ice Golem, but I hate that dungeon. That is a really hard dungeon for me to build a team that can auto reliably in any sort of reasonable amount of time. Even some of the champs that you can get, like a Conqueror, for example, it's kind of got to be a perfect storm of events on auto for Conqueror to land the skill that blocks revive and get the killing blow on one of the minions, right? So, short of running a team full of Conquerors, which I don't think is really worth the effort, there's also Armiger, so you could stack your team up with a few of these champs, but it's still kind of got to all work out perfectly. Here you have a little bit more under your control. You have a legendary attacker with really high base attack with a third skill AoE that probably has a pretty solid multiplier. I've never used it, but I have to imagine, given that he's a legendary and given that this is a third skill, the multiplier is probably pretty high, which means the damage is probably going to be pretty substantial for it. So if you put him with a team in Ice Golem that can stack debuffs, defense break being one of them, and then anything else, any other debuff, if you can set a team up that will line him up to use this skill and get kills, Ice Golem immediately gets much easier, right? So really cool skill. Beyond that, if you wanted to build an arena offense, an arena cleave offense, and make him your damage dealer, you shoot his damage way up, you set up a team, and these teams that have Gorg or Alton or some of these really aggravating revive teams that you get pitted against. There's been a lot of times in arena where I've killed everybody except a Gorg, and then he brings back the whole team. So if Foli's your damage dealer, you stack a defense break and one other debuff, Foli comes in and kills. If Gorg lives, it doesn't matter because he can't bring him back anyway. So it's a really effective skill, and again, I would have to assume that the multiplier on it is substantial. I won't know for a few days, but once I get Foli, I'm really excited to test this out and see just how much damage I can get out of him with that skill. But it certainly has a lot of utility. And then he's got this passive. Heals this champion by 20% of their max HP and boosts the turn meter by 50% whenever an enemy places a stun, freeze, sleep, or provoke on this champion. Immediately removes all stun, freeze, sleep, and provoke debuffs from this champion. So this is also a pretty nasty passive. It is on a 5-turn cooldown unless you skill it up, and then it's on 3 turns. But this has utility in PvP, of course. Anybody that tries to CC you, he's going to get rid of it, and he's going to get 50% of his turn meter for it, on top of the fact that he's going to heal himself too. So that's nice in itself. It also has utility in Clan Boss. Sometimes Clan Boss will target someone, he does that hammer fist on him, and it stuns him. If he targets Foli, if the circumstances are right and he targets Foli, he's going to hit Foli with it. It's basically going to be a wasted stun. Your team is going to be in no way affected by the stun. In fact, you're going to benefit from it because he's going to heal himself and get turn meter, which means he's going to be able to cycle back around to these multi-hit skills. And once you have Giant Slayer on him, the more turns you can get out of him, you're going to see pretty solid damage. So it's an amazing kit. He's bringing a lot to a lot of different places in the game. So if anybody has convinced you that Foli is not worth any attention or that he's not good, disregard that, because that could not be further from the truth. He's a fantastic champ. He's well worth the effort in the fusion, yeah, looks really cool too. But as far as sets, if you're earlier in the game, again, I don't know what you're going to have at your disposal. So we'll talk about a few options here. Obviously, you want him to hit decently. So things like attack sets, speed sets, crit rate sets, depending on where you are. You do want him to have accuracy, so an accuracy set would be worth considering. Things of that nature, right? And something like crit rate or attack on the gloves. If you're super early and you pulled Foli, then go attack on the gloves. Otherwise, you want to start working crit rate into the mix as soon as possible. Attack percentage on the armor, speed on the boots. You basically just build him like a standard attacker that needs accuracy. So the stats that you want to be shooting up on him very early on are going to be attack, speed, and accuracy, which means, again, attack percentage is the main stat on the gloves, attack percentage is the main stat on the armor, speed on the boots. A little bit later, you can work crit rate onto the gloves, and then probably have an accuracy set on him, and then in your substats be looking for attack, speed, and accuracy. Then a little later be looking for crit rate and crit damage as well. Alternatively, if you want to use them in Clan Boss, then you're going to build them a little bit different. So I'm going to talk very briefly about that just for the hell of it. Lifesteal, of course, there's a very large period in the game where Lifesteal makes a huge difference in your Clan Boss runs, and this guy is going to be a great example of someone that's going to shine, because again, once you have his masteries done and you have him on Giant Slayer, which until then I wouldn't bother bringing him to Clan Boss, honestly. So if you just got him and you think it's going to take a while to do masteries, go ahead and build him as an attacker and try to use him in Fire Knight, use him in Arena, test him out in Ice Golem with a debuff heavy team, things of that nature. Once you get his masteries done and you want to try him in Clan Boss, you could try to switch him over to a Lifesteal set if you have the gear, and then you just want to build him tanky because his damage is going to come from Giant Slayer. So his real value in a Clan Boss team is going to be from the debuffs, the Giant Slayer damage, and then his passive. So you're going to put him on a Lifesteal set, and then you want him to be really fast. So maybe Lifesteal speed, maybe Lifesteal accuracy, and then like HP percentage on the gloves and armor, speed on the boots, maybe defense percentage if you don't have HP percentage, or you wanted to mix it up and try to shoot both of those stats up, because again, his base HP and base defense are high for an attacker, defense especially, so it's going to be very easy to scale those up. So some combination of HP and defense percentage on the armor and gloves, and then probably still speed on the boots, and be looking for a lot of accuracy. You want him landing that defense break, you want him landing that leech, you want him doing all the things he's designed to do. And then it's just a matter of how long can he stay alive. How long can he stay alive? How many turns can he get? Because there's going to be a lot of damage to be done between these two skills. So quick little bonus Clan Boss rundown for him. And I think that's going to do it. So yeah, I'm really excited about this event. You should be too if you're not already. He's a great champ. It's going to be a lot of fun to use. And I think that's going to wrap it up. So if you have any questions about Foli, feel free to drop them below. Also, as a bonus, if you want to let me know in the comments how you're doing on the Fusion event, that would be fun. I usually ask that in my stream. I like to get, find out where people at and how they're feeling about the event. And if they're getting nervous, they might not finish it, but don't get nervous. You got plenty of time. I think it's a 3-week-long event. I'm sure they'll make all the champs available again at least once throughout the event. So just keep grinding, keep going at it. In the meantime, if you have any questions about Foli, drop them below. If you have any comments about Foli, maybe you've already got him and you think he's, maybe you think he's amazing, maybe you don't think he's amazing. Either way, let us know in the comments what you think about Foli. I hope it was helpful. I will be back at some point in the future with a much more in-depth guide, maybe some gameplay with him even, masteries. We're going to talk about all that stuff at a later time, but for now, this is the best I can offer you. So hope it was helpful. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and good luck on the event. I'll see you later.